Tony Khan decided to go on a tweet spree last Friday before Rampage with some, say, curious remarks. I have them here for you. Tony decided to tweet out, without any prompting, an independent study has confirmed that much of the staunch anti-AEW online community aren't real individuals. It's a staff running thousands of accounts plus an army of bots to signal boost them. Look closely, these aren't real people. Who'd pay for such a wildly expensive thing? He then followed up in a thread with, research this one yourselves. You internet detectives thrive in these situations. Speaking of wild things, you won't want to miss John Moxley versus Wheeler Yuta on AEW Rampage at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on TNT Drama tonight. Which he wasn't wrong. That was a really, really good match. And then he followed that up with, their boiler room staff is going to be working overtime on Friday, and I love it. And ever wonder why so much of the activity of these accounts is retweets and replies? Like, who actually has 80% of their activity as straight up retweets, which felt like a direct shot to me because I kind of do. He then went on to point out to somebody who claimed that he had hired his own company, that he had actually hired an independent company to perform this study. But we also haven't seen this study. So, Chad, this is fucking hilarious, first of all. Him just using this, like, random, like, cocaine-y Twitter spree to just backdoor promote Rampage, and probably one of the better Rampages they've ever had. But does this hold any water with you? Does it mean anything? Or what? What did you make of all of this?
I almost didn't know what to think initially, and then I got the slander tweets that he was high, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's high as giraffe ass." I really don't know what to make. I laughed for minutes on end because it's clearly like that coke rush, and you just Twitter fingers of like I don't know.
For the record, we're not saying Tony does cocaine. It's just the meme. For legal purposes, we're not saying Tony does cocaine. It's just a meme. I'm not risking that lawsuit. But you're right. Like I said, like it was cocaine-y. Like he was just out there like wildly tweeting. Just, I don't want to call it nonsense because I think there's some truth to what he's saying. There are obviously a lot of bots excuse me, a lot of bots running around on Twitter and even like places like Reddit, where they are promoting WWE and slandering AEW. I'm sure there's some going the other way too, Danny. So he's right in a sense, but I mean, just coming out and saying there's an independent study, do the research is just banana lands.
Crackheadish.
Yeah, you're being defensive about something you don't have to be defensive about. You know, like you're retaliating in a fight that no one was having at this point. You know, it's a little silly. But also, you know, while this is in the news and a topic of conversation, if you're a person who actually exists and comments these sorts of things on like wrestling pages on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, wherever, congrats, you have the personality of a bot. You should be real happy and proud of yourself. You know, I think the takeaway is don't engage with online discussions about things you like unless they're positive, because otherwise you're just going to end up in a hole where, you know, you spend way too much time thinking about it, and if you have enough money, you're going to pay a company to do research about all the shit talking, you know, and it just seems like an immature way to deal with criticism. And again, I am sure there are plenty of bots out there and that this is true to some degree, but if you can't tell the difference between a bot and a real person, I don't care about your opinion of wrestling anyway, or your opinion on anything for that matter. But like, just don't use it as a blanket statement to deflect all criticism. Like, bro, it doesn't take a bot to see that the women had maybe 6 minutes of TV time on Dynamite this week. You know, like it's not a. It's easy to criticize AEW. You don't need a bot. You know, like there are bland criticisms that hold no water that bots and real WWE fanboys who just have fallen into tribalism will say. But then there's valid critique, and you can't just use this bot argument to deflect all criticism. It's silly. Lay off the drugs, Tony. You know,
Allegedly.
otherwise, allegedly, jokingly.
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Tony has so far seemingly had a bit of a problem taking criticism, whether it's fair or not, and coming out and trying to defend himself and his company by claiming everyone who is slandering AEW is a bot is ridiculous. Like, we do our fair share of criticism, or give our fair share of criticism about the show. I mean, you just made a really good point about the women's division. We cook him on the women's division as often as we can because we want to see it do better. But there's the other thing that you said, which again, nail on the head, the tribalism of this all. The amount of like vitriol on the internet between the AEW fanboys and the WWE fanboys is ridiculous. You know, I have said time and time again, I don't love AEW. I don't love WWE anymore. It's just I've fallen out of favor. It's fallen out of favor with me, and I just don't like the style. I really don't like the camera work. But I'm not gonna go and just get in a random argument saying how WWE sucks because I don't know that to be 100% true anymore. It's not for me. And they had a really bad run, which turned me off from it. But I know, like, Danny, obviously you do the Raw Rewind every week, and you say it's actually been pretty good lately. Chad, you were saying recently you've been getting back into it, and SmackDown. They've both been pretty decent. So maybe I'm wrong. But that's why I don't engage in these things, because it's ridiculous. The tribalism is just so bad now. So that's unfortunate. I do want to read off some of the fantastic memes that this resulted in.
Please do.
From some other Twitter users, especially one big time Becky Lynch, because her Twitter game has always been strong as hell. Becky tweeted out, "An independent study confirmed that much of the staunch anti-Becky arena booers aren't real individuals. It's a staff of thousands running AI, an army of bots. Look closely; those aren't real people who'd pay for such a wildly expensive thing." And then I do believe Uno had to go. Yep, there we go. Evil Uno, an independent study has confirmed that much of the staunch anti-Evil Uno online community aren't real. It's just the staff and so on and so forth. So good memes. And then Uno, shout out to Evil Uno, because that got really boosted. And then he immediately tweeted out, "While Evil Uno has your attention, if you're anti-LGBTQ+, get the hell off my feed. Only good human beings are allowed to interact with Evil Uno." So Evil Uno never living up to his name.
Let me also add very briefly, different sport, but this is how I know it's Coke.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Do we not think that the co-owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars cannot take criticism?
Well, see, I was actually funny. I was going to bring up two things that you guys just said. I was going to bring up Becky because it's like, well, there are some people in wrestling who know how to use Twitter, and then there's like a whole other half who don't. But I would say that for Tony Khan, this is way different. Being the owner of a wrestling company is way different than a sports team. And a sports team, you're only facing the fan base of your team and a little bit outside of that fan base. With wrestling, it's a whole nother ball game. You're more of your face is more important to the franchise than anything. Like me and Rev are Mets fans, and Stephen Cohen, we we know who he is because it's the first time we've ever had a fucking rich ass owner who's willing to spend money.
Uncle
So
Stevie.
for that reason, he's made himself that kind of figure where he is more in the public eye, and he's doing some silly things sometimes, like he's trying to act like one of the boys when he's not. But you know,
and he goes off on Twitter.
yeah, he does a lot of Tony Khan like things in a way. But in most cases, like I don't know who owns the Phillies. I know that Jeter owned the Marlins, and that was a shit show. Like, or
He's
ended
gone
as
now.
a shit show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's gone
that's
now.
what it owned because it ended in a weird way. But other than that, like every once in a while, there's a Mark Cuban or whatever that owns the sports teams. Otherwise, it's like, you kind of don't think about the owners too much unless you're in the fan base, and if you're mad at your team for not spending money or winning. So
That's
like,
true. That's true.
Yeah, I will say for the record, Tony doesn't own the Jags. His father does, but he does work for them at a very high level. And you're right though. Like even as part of the Jaguars, he doesn't really take criticism well, because I know he's at least in part avoiding it because he was a fairly regular on the Dan Lebertard show over the last couple of years, and he hasn't been back since they fired Urban Meyer and all of that shit happened. Because I'm pretty sure he knows they're going to ask him questions about it. He just wants to avoid that. So I don't know, man. It's weird with him. Like, if you're going to be the public owner, public facing owner of a company like this, you got to understand you're going to get some flack, even fake or not.
Absolutely.
And or maybe this is just his marketing strategy. Stir up some shit, stir the pot a little bit. Get everybody talking about you, and then we just dedicated 12 plus minutes to this. You know,
controversial. I mean, that
he didn't even
tactic.
He didn't say anything outlandish. Well, I don't want to say outlandish, but like there's a kernel of truth to what he said. And hey, if he actually has the study to back it up, then holy shit. Otherwise, he did a great job promoting Rampage last night, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people tuned in just because of what he said. Or at least we're paying attention to what was going on Rampage that night because of what he said. And then you throw on top of that beautiful Moxley Yuta match, and that ended up getting a lot of publicity for that Friday. So maybe there's a method to his madness.
Maybe we'll leave it at that.